Genesis 6 verse 9 states that Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The same text implies that neither Noah nor his sons were genetically tainted by Nephilim, since Noah was blameless among the people of his time. However, this did not always hold true for the sons' spouses. 8 people in all, including wives and sons of Noah, climbed onto the ark with him. The Bible doesn't reveal the names or backgrounds of the women in the ark, although apocryphal stories say that Ham's wife was named Neolatamuk. The Book of Jasher states that all of Noah's sons' wives were Methuselah's son Eliakim's daughters. Even if Neolatamuk was Eliakim's daughter, we don't know if that was the case for all of his daughters because the information varies throughout sources. Therefore, it is unknown how these women came to be and who they are. Following the flood, Noah's family abandoned the ark and headed toward the Shinar Plains, which are today in southern Turkey, Syria, and Iraq. Next, Genesis tells a captivating story of a family's struggles while never holding back in highlighting the humanity of its main characters. After that, Noah planted a vineyard and began farming. He drank the wine, became drunk, and came out of his tent. Canaan's father, Ham, told his 2 brothers outdoors when he saw his father was nude. However, Shem and Japheth covered their father's nudeness with a cloth they took and put on both of their shoulders, turning their faces away in the process. When Noah finally stirred from his drink, he realized what his youngest son had done to him. "Cursed be Canaan," he exclaimed, "for he shall be a servant among servants to his brothers." He also said to praise the Lord, the God of Shem, and to make Canaan your servant. According to Genesis 9 verses 20 to 27, may God enlarge Japheth so that he can reside in Shem's tents and have Canaan serve him. The expression, "saw his father naked," is a code word for incestuous sexual behavior. This euphemism for incest is also used in a number of Bible passages. These passages include multiple instances in Leviticus 18 to 20 and Ezekiel 16 to 23. More evidence that there was more going on than just seeing comes from the fact that when Noah woke up from his drink, he knew what his youngest son had done to him. Stated differently, this involved doing as opposed to merely observing. It is therefore possible that Noah was the victim of a heterosexual crime or that Noah's wife was the victim of a homosexual deed. Canaan was possibly involved in what transpired because Genesis mentions him twice before this episode, Genesis 9 verses 18 to 22. Canaan is the son of Ham. Moreover, Canaan's father Ham was observed watching the entire scenario and did not stop or chastise his son. It is possible that Ham was even encouraging Canaan. It would seem that Canaan was at fault because Noah explicitly cursed him and said that he would submit to both Shem and Japheth. Some scholars of rabbinics suggest that Ham may have participated in or urged his son Canaan to do whatever was necessary to gain control over the family. Noah may have had more offspring that are not stated, even though no further daughters' sons are named in Genesis. It has also been suggested that Noah was either castrated or rendered impotent as a result of this event. Therefore, these theories are not supported by the text. It was said that Ham had once been cursed, and as he was the ancestor of the African peoples, the curse also supposedly belonged to them. However, the language of Genesis 9 verses 20 to 27 makes it clear that Canaan alone was cursed, not his father Ham. It says that the person who did the deed was Noah's younger son. Even though Ham is usually called the second of the 3 sons, it's more possible that Noah was speaking to his grandson Canaan, who may have been his youngest kid at the time, or he was the 3rd son. It seems that Canaan indulged in immoral sexual behavior. If this is the case, he had no respect for God's commands, for society norms, or for his grandparents. It was a bold and foolish conduct for a grandson to sexually abuse the head of the clan or his wife because he also gave off the impression of being very conceited, sexually obsessed, and unconcerned about his own safety and future. Inferring Nephilim characteristics from his mother and passing them on to his offspring is a possibility for Canaan, although it is hard to say for sure from the scant details we know about his life. As will be described shortly, it is therefore not surprising that his descendants, the tribes of Canaan, were the most promiscuous people on the planet. Written somewhere in the Second Temple period, maybe between 300 BC and 150 BC, the Book of Jubilees repeats the story of Noah getting wasted and exposing himself in his tent. As was previously established, Ham asserts that he saw Noah. However, upon waking, Noah blames his younger son, Canaan. Enraged, Ham and his boys take off, each going in a different direction. The Bible contains no information on Ham or Canaan other than a list of their descendants. Ham had 4 sons, Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan, according to Genesis 10 verse 6. Ethiopia is said to have been founded by Cush, Egypt by Mizraim, Libya by Canaan, and the area between Lebanon and the river of Egypt, which later became the Kingdom of Israel, by Canaan. Canaan's lineage is as follows: the firstborns of Canaan, who later became the father of Sidonians, Zidon, were the Hittites, Hate, Jebusites, Jebus, Amorites, Amori, Girgashite, Girgashi, Hivite, Hivi, Arkite, Arki, Sinite, Sani, Arvadite, Barodi, Zemarite, Zemodi, and Hamathite, Kamothi. The Canaanites' kingdom extends as far as you can see as you go from Sidon toward Gerar, Gaza, and Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim, Lasha, Genesis 10 verses 15 to 19, with names of individual sons taken from Book of Jasher 7 verse 131. The descendants of Canaan settled on the country named after their father. Abraham was promised that when the Amorite sin was completed, or after God had judged the Canaanite sins, especially those of their Nephilim lineage, his descendants would live in Canaan. Know without a doubt that your offspring will be strangers in a land that is not their own, and that they will endure 400 years of enslavement and persecution there, God told Abram. They will take a lot of stuff with them when they depart, but I will also evaluate the nation they will represent. At a healthy old age, you will be laid to rest and peacefully return to your dads. Since the Amorite people are continuously committing crimes, they will return here in the 4th generation. Abram received a promise from the Lord that day: I have given this country to your descendants. From the river of Egypt to the great river Euphrates, there were various groups of people living there, including the Kenite, Kenizzite, Cadmonite, Hittite, Perizzite, Rephaim, Amorite, Canaanite, Girgashite, and Jebusite. Chapter 15 verse 13 to 21. The Canaanite society became well known for its strange sexual customs associated with deity worship. They may have been the first to engage in holy prostitution, which is the practice of having orgiastic relations with women other than wives as a means of fulfilling religious duties, especially to the gods Baal and Ashtoreth. They were performed in temples and on high areas, like as hilltops or tree groves, that were designated as such by Asherah poles. These women might have been long-term religious prostitutes or young women whose duty it was to serve as men's disposable sex objects. In particular, sex rituals were used to ask the gods for things like increased fertility and rainfall, which were essential to an agricultural civilization. To defend the Canaanites, some contemporary historians have asserted that the historical narratives were fabricated or that women were magically elevated by sacred sex. However, other sources provide evidence that sacred prostitution was disgusting, that it was practiced in different ways across the ancient world, and that Canaan was the area where it was most prevalent and most immoral. Israel's leaders have often facilitated meaningful interactions between their people and the cultures and religions of its neighbors. Solomon, the wealthiest king in Israel's history, had many foreign brides for whom plans were made in 950 BC. As a result, Solomon was not as devoted to the Lord as his father, David, had been, and as he grew older, his wives caused him to turn away from the Lord and toward other gods. Solomon built a high place for the detestable god of the sons of Ammon, Molech, and the detestable idol of Moab, Chemosh, on a hilltop east of Jerusalem. According to 1 Kings 11 verses 4 to 8, he offered sacrifices to their gods and burned incense for each of his foreign wives in the same manner. I appreciate your viewing.